Hi everyone, welcome to Hub Cymru Africa Meet the Funder Week. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm really sorry to have kept you waiting for so long. We are, as you can see on the screen, we've got the Mentimeter that's been running all week. If you could put your name, your organisation and what you're hoping to learn today into the chat, that will help everybody familiarise themselves with who is in the room. So I'm delighted to be able to welcome our guests today. We're having a little bit of technical issues. I'm sorry.
We don't do any transactions.
With us.
Yeah, yeah.
Hi, Alex. So yes, bear with us with some technical issues. I'm sorry, but we have got Chipo is with us. She is able to hear us, but she's not able to turn her camera on at the moment. And she is going to be talking to us from Kampala, from Akina Mama wa Africa. We've also got Forward with us here today. Adwa is having difficulties with the Zoom, so she is on the phone with us. But welcome, Adwa. Thank you very much for your patience with the system.
Thank you.
Alrighty. So, Fadili, could I ask you to very briefly introduce your partnership, and then Adwa, if you could introduce the film, I'll get that ready for everybody to see.
Sure, I will quickly. I think it would be nice for Adwa to say a little bit of Forward as well, and Chipo. So I'll say a little bit about SSAP as well. But we together, Akina Mama Africa, Sub-Saharan Advisory Panel, and Forward UK, and one other partner who are based in Somaliland, delivered a project called Tuwezeshe Akina Dada, which means empowering sisters in East Africa and in the UK as well, which looked at empowering young women from the diaspora community and within the East African side of the continent, looking at ways to create platforms for movement building that focuses on gender-based violence, but general developing leadership within those communities. So that's a little bit about the project itself. And SSAP, we are based in Cardiff. We are part of Hub Cymru Africa, and we're a network of African communities here in Wales who are very passionate about community development here in Wales, but also in the continent or the countries where most of our members are from. I'll pass on to Adwa to introduce Forward.
Okay, thank you very much. And as I said, it's surprising that in the UK we're having challenges with Zoom, and I do apologize. I hope you can hear me clearly. As Fadili has said, we implemented together the Tuwezeshe Akina Dada, a 5-country project. We worked in England, Scotland, and Wales. We worked in Kenya, in Uganda, in Somaliland, and in Tanzania to build a cadre of young women leaders. And the objective was to create a sisterhood of these young women leaders to effect social change against violence against women and girls. Forward has been working on issues of violence against women and girls from its inception. We started off focused on female genital mutilation. And we quickly realized that it was allied to so many other forms of violence. So we very quickly moved into child marriage, because for a lot of FGM practicing communities, it is directly linked to child marriage. We also then realized very quickly that child marriage is linked to child motherhood and early motherhood, and then the other forms of violence that affect child mothers who are taken out of school, who experience increased violence, who experience increased health problems. So our work has widened to a more general violence against women sphere. So that's what Forward has been working on. We work in Africa, in UK, and in Europe. We believe that it is communities who will change the social norms that underpin violence against women and girls, and therefore we work with communities. We recognize that particularly in the UK, the statutory sector needs the cultural competencies to work with communities that practice particular forms of violence against women and girls. So we work with professionals as well. So we work in a holistic way to end the social norms that perpetuate violence against women and girls.
Thank you, Adwa. Just to emphasize as well, Forward are based in London. They are diaspora-led, African diaspora. And yeah, and we have Chipo with us as well. So I don't know if Chipo, you can introduce yourself and Amwa.
Thank you so much, Fadili. I'm Chipo Bangira. I work with feminist organization, and we are based in Uganda. But in terms of implementation, we implement across the African continent. And what we are mainly known for, or our entry point, is the African Women's Leadership Institute. So for every project that we implement, our first point of entry is that institute, where we take women in their diversities through different thematic areas: personal development, feminist theory, movement building, advocacy, and feminist leadership. So right now, at the moment, we are focusing on 3 thematic areas, one being on sexual reproductive health rights, then women in politics, and also economic justice and climate action. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. I'm just going to share a video with you now. It is going to be, it's a 5-minute video. So bear with me. Can we hear that?
Tuwezeshe akina dada is Swahili for empowering our sisters.
Sorry, Kath, we're just wondering whether Adwa can quickly introduce the film before we play.
This is a film that tries to encapsulate very neatly the ethos, the energy, the vibrancy, the amazing young women, the over 200 young women that the partnership with SSAP, Mama Wa Africa, CDF, and Somaliland Nursing and Midwifery Association trained to be the change makers, the young women leaders who are going to challenge violence against women and girls. I mean, we love the video. You can tell from my voice that every time I listen to it, I'm touched. I hope you enjoy it as well.
Thank you, Adwa.
It is a feminist leadership program inspiring a generation of young African women to engage in activism against all forms of violence against women and girls. Through the 1-year fellowship, young women build leadership skills, are mentored by established female leaders, and receive funding to initiate their own social action projects.
The Tuwezeshe program has been fundamental in improving my leadership skills because it gives you the time and space to really reflect on who you are as a leader and what feminist leadership means to you. Activists, and like, if you're going to reach outside of your sphere, like, how do you continue to connect? All too often, leadership forces you to constantly do, but there's never the space to think. Having this time to really reflect and just renew what that means to me has been really important.
For Tuwezeshe, it's more of a movement, a group of people. We are here with our mentors, we're here with implementing partners. It's a sisterhood, a movement. We are marching. We want our voices to be heard about equality and equity and to end gender-based violence.
And that really helped me develop as a leader, to know the strengths that I have as a woman.
Today, from some of the discussions that we've had, I have really grown as a feminist leader. I'm really seeing how important collaboration is, and also really understanding the power that I have as a woman to be able to access different spaces and to be able to use my voice as well. It's just like a safe space to just be, and just to know that, oh, my ideas can grow here and I can just grow as a person as well.
do mobilize and organize, mentor and share.
The Tuwezeshe training teaches fellows practical leadership skills and equips them with confidence and resilience to become effective leaders. It explores issues of identity, power and agency, patriarchy, violence against women and girls, women's rights, and strategies for social change.
That Tuwezeshe program was the beginning of my professional. When I went through the program, that's when I started my advocacy work. That's when I started, with the Social Action Project. I started doing activism in my community, and since then a lot has changed.
Fellows go on to initiate their own social action projects, from community engagement initiatives and youth support programs to research and advocacy projects.
The things that we fight every day is FGM. We successfully seen the impact.
My social action project was called SANU, a group therapy program provided to 10 women of Black, African and Caribbean descent that have experienced a form of gender-based violence or emotional abuse in the past year.
My social action project is called Kigenge Chetu. That is a Swahili phase, which means online hub. People are experiencing the physical violence, the sexual violence, the marital rape, yet they cannot discuss this. So we offer a space and also online discussion where we can speak about these issues freely and our voices can be heard.
My social action project was about advocating against sexual harassment in institutions of higher learning. We did activities around doing advocacy to make sure that universities have sexual harassment policies, that also students have the knowledge that sexual harassment, first of all, is wrong, and just really having activities around making sure that we start the conversation around sexual harassment in the universities in Uganda.
Since launching in 2016, the Tuwezeshe program has changed the lives of 180 young women across England, Wales, Scotland, Tanzania, Uganda, and Somaliland.
It's a great feeling to see young people develop and grow to be strong ladies under my mentorship. It gives me an assurance that tomorrow is well catered for.
Just to see them bloom, to see them come out, to see them find their voice, to go from whispering to roaring. It's like, my work here is done.
The most valuable aspect of being part of the Tuwezeshe program for me has been sisterhood. I absolutely adore every single woman that I met on the training, and I'm still in touch with most of them now.
The most valuable thing for me on this Tuwezeshe program, I think the peer mentoring, people seeing things in you that you didn't see in yourself.
Somebody holding you accountable for what you're doing, somebody who can supervise your work. I think that is a very amazing thing.
This has really allowed me to, just rejuvenate in my activism and go back out there more powerful, ready to fight for what's right.
Wow, brings back memories. Isn't it, Alua?
Of the convening in Uganda.
I know, right?
Where you had over how many of them amazing young women, full of energy, full of ideas, full of enthusiasm, ready to take on the world.
I remember vividly. Over to you, Kath. Sorry, we're taking over.
No, it's nice. It is a beautiful video. It looks like a wonderful project. Thanks for sharing it with us. So the first question that I have really, that I think our audience will be interested in, is to help us get a picture of how you developed the project together. So how did you work together to identify the need for the project? What was the collaboration on that?
Partnership is always difficult, and I think one of the issues that has to be very clear from the beginning is that usually in a partnership there's a lead organization. There's an organization probably who maybe identified the call, who was most passionate about the idea and brings other people in. So in this particular instance, it was Forward who identified the call and thought about the the possibilities of what we could do. And then we brought others in. And I think it was as you discuss and you refine and further refine and hone and, develop it together. That is what makes it a robust project and a robust partnership. But there's always, well, it has to be so. One person who sparks the idea, ignites the flame, and then together you build it up into something really amazing. So that's how this project started. And it was, for Forward, it has always been our way of working. We believe in partnership working. We've always worked in partnerships because we recognize that any problem that we want to deal with, we can't deal with it on our own. We are humble enough to recognize that we need more players. And one of the things that we always look out for is for shared values, because a partnership cannot work if you don't share the same values. And I'm sure Chipo will add to that. We recognize the expertise of, for example, Akina Mama, who have a long history of leadership institutes, but maybe not working with women as young as the group he worked with. Chipo, please come in. You know me, if I start talking, I can talk for So do stop me, and I can't see anybody, so I'm in my room talking to myself.
That's great. Thank you very much. I think that gave us a good insight. I know you're in your room talking to yourself, but there's lots of people listening very interested. So thank you.
Just to add, and I think Chipo will add to this as well, to what Adwa said. Yeah, it started off actually was a call out that Comic Relief did as part of the CGI. I can't remember the whole acronym, what it stands for. And basically they brought a number of organizations, because it was diaspora focus on this particular funding. They brought a number of organizations to know more about the funding, but also to create a space where people could collaborate. And I remember we were Common Ground Initiative, thanks Hannah. And SSAP were there, Forward were there. We've known about Forward, we've known about each other for some time, but we've never worked together before. And when the funding came and we were in that space, we started having conversations, which led to obviously us tendering for the grant itself. But really kind of fast forwarding in terms of
I think she sat on the wing skill.
The key thing we did following our successful funding or proposal was to do a baseline study as well to identify the need. So each country, including Wales did its own, so we did it the Welsh part. England did the baseline for England as well. Each country did the baseline study to identify the needs and particular issues that existed within those countries. And through that, basically, we were able then to structure the project altogether. I don't know if Chipo wants to come in as well at this point.
Yeah, thanks, Fadili and Adora. I just wanted to say that I think for us, the most important, it goes back to what Adora was talking about in terms of values clarification, because I feel that in partnerships, in consortiums, if you don't go through that values clarification, then you are likely to enter into sort of like a wrong marriage at the end of the day. So for us, that was really a very powerful thing that from the word go, we were clear in terms of each other's values, interests, and also in terms of the problem that we wanted to articulate as a collective. Yeah.
Lovely, thank you. I like that. I've made a little note about value clarification. Thank you. I guess this event is about fundraising, and it's part of Meet the Funders Week. And I wondered if, Chipo, you could talk at how you think the partnership strengthened your funding application. Do you think that the partnership helped in terms of the funding application?
Allow me to throw that back to Adora. Yeah. Because I feel that Ajoa and Fadili, I'm sure you can also attest to this, that I joined the program just right at the end. So I think, yeah, Ajoa and Fadili will be best placed to respond to that.
Okay, Fadili, you go ahead and I'll chip in.
No, sure. So it's about fundraising, how we developed the application together. I remember vividly, this was probably the most collaborative projects that we've ever been involved in, because we created a document. I remember the application form within Comic Relief. It's a huge document that we have, you have to fill. And obviously we had to have someone who kind of manages all responses coming from all the partners, but it was very much a very collaborative thing where each partner input in every single section. And we had regular meetings to decide, okay, this is what's been decided to, or this is what's been written for, say, for example, monitoring evaluation. Are we actually able to do these things that have been articulated by all the partners, and cutting it down to the point, or refining it to the point where we're happy with it? We introduced one outcome within the funding application, which is partnership development. So to make sure that all the partners do have capacity building or organization development as one of the outcomes from the project itself. And that covered everything. Us as SSAP, we had our own needs, Forward had their own needs. But in terms of the collaborative element of writing the bid, everyone chipped in. I think initially it was just more of a tender, and then from the tender, you get the tender, is developing the application itself. And it was 4 phases altogether. So initially, yeah, you do the expression of interest, and then once you go through that, you're invited to submit a big application, and then there's another application, and then there's interviews on top of it as well. So it's a very strenuous process. Over to you, Adwa.
I was just thinking about the assessment process from Comic Relief.
Yeah.
Very stressful. Yes, I think in terms of the benefit and how it works, it's about harnessing each partner's area of expertise and working that and making it an added value to the project. So definitely, I think it was very much a proposal that harnessed the expertise of every partner. So for example, one of the advantages of us partnering with SSAP was that we were able to work in Somaliland. Now, you know that FGM in Somaliland and Somalia is very high. So that gave us a very good entry into creating a cadre of 21 young women who went through the leadership training and who have now become a core, strong group of activists against FGM in Somaliland, which has yielded a result that we hoped for but didn't believe we would get, i.e., it is on the agenda. FGM is in the public domain. It is being discussed in Somaliland. It has gone to the level of the parliament. There isn't a law yet, but at least that discussion is out there. It is no longer in the shadows. That social norm that supports FGM is somehow being eroded. And that is amazing for 21 young women to have made that kind of significant change. So yes, I think it did benefit all of us in different ways. And it made all of us stronger.
Absolutely. And I do remember there are a lot of skills, because we were a very small organization, still are at that time. And I remember definitely the skills that we gained from the project itself because of the collaborative nature of it. I remember, for example, we had to develop the materials for the training itself, to which that was each partner had a specific topic that they had to develop the materials. Obviously, we had someone who will then look at everything that's been submitted and cutting it down. but it was a very much a collaborative element where, you know, wasn't Forward who was the lead partner and the whole responsibility of developing that. No, it was everyone chipping in.
Yes, definitely.
I just wanted to, just adding on that, is that I think for me that the other most important thing that Fadili spoke to in terms of institutional capacity building within the partnership itself, for me, that was really, really powerful. It was really a powerful thing. And also just to reflect as AMWA as an institution, it also helped us to hold ourselves accountable, also assess our systems, our practices and so forth. Because I remember the little time that I've worked with the different organizations is that there was that check and balance process that happened. Ajoa sometimes would give you feedback on certain things, and it really helped us in terms of enhancing our institutional capacity as different organizations, and that was like really powerful.
I'm on mute, sorry. Thank you, Chipo. And thanks for the contribution of Jordi. I guess I want to ask now is about why do you think the funder was interested in bringing you together in a partnership, and why were they, because they did bring you together and introduce you. So why do you think they're interested in that? What's the value of that?
The funder didn't do that. We did that. I mean, the funder was interested in partnership working and consortium working. But in terms of selecting who linked with whom, that was solely up to the four of us who worked together to come, you know, we worked together to carve out the project and the rules and the responsibilities. And I think funders do like partnership working in, I think for maybe two reasons. Firstly, it, as Chipo says, increases accountability to each other, which makes the projects work better. I also think there is the added value of multiplied impact. So you end up with a finished product that is greater than the sum of the two, the parts. And that is what you get when you do partnership working. I also think there is a maybe a more selfish motive for partners, for funders, and maybe funders will jump in and tell me I'm wrong. But I think they prefer to fund fewer partners than to fund smaller partners. And I think this started with sort of the World Bank direction maybe a decade, 2 decades ago, when they were not interested in funding a lot of smaller projects, but wanted to get rid of quite a lot of money without the overhead costs of them managing lots of smaller projects. So I think there is a selfish interest as well as, I think, an impact interest in partnership working. And as we've all said, it's helped us grow individually and together. We have sustained that relationship that we built with Tuwezeshe. We are still seeing our Tuwezeshe fellows making huge strides. So it has really been impactful. The project is for 2 years since we finished, something like that, but it feels like it was only yesterday because we are all in touch with our fellows. That's the young women who went through the training and the social action projects that followed. And they have used that learning to continue to impact their communities. So I think those are some of the reasons why funders do like partnership working, and some of the reasons why we as NGOs also like partnership working. So I think it's a win-win for everybody.
That's an excellent summary. Thank you. Go on ahead, Chipo, go on.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that the other thing is, for example, if you look at the nature of the project that we implemented, these were different organizations coming in with different expertise, insights, and so forth. So what that also means is that at the end of the day, when it comes to the partnership and how it looks at issues, there's that intersection lens. So it's not like issues are looked using a singular lens, but there's that intersectionality that's also involved in the process. So for me, I think that's why like funders are now interested in partnerships, so that at the end of the day, you are leveraging on the different expertise. There's that intersectionality, and people also get to co-create knowledge at the end of the day, unlike what used to happen in the past. Yeah.
Great, thank you, Chipo. Chipo, can I stay on you and can I ask you, I'm sure there's lots of people in our audience who are going to be thinking about partnership and thinking about their own partners and how they can strengthen their partnership working. So if somebody was to come to you and ask you how they could replicate your success, what advice would you give them? How could somebody replicate the success in partnership that you guys have had?
I'll go back to the issue that I spoke to about the values clarification, which I feel is very important whenever you're entering into a partnership, because what that does is that even when it comes to the other things of accountability and so forth, it becomes easier. Like initially, this is what we agreed, these are our interests, these are our values, we'll stick to them. So I think for us, that really helps in the process, and it's something for other development partners to replicate. I don't know if Fadili and Adjoa want to add other things.
Yeah, for me, it's also the thing of assessing and acknowledging each other's expertise and what you bring to the project. I think it's really important to know, and to also the weaknesses to know. And I remember this through the Forward as a lead partner. Actually, they did the due diligences for each partner, to which we said what our strengths are, what our weaknesses are, who we are, who our demographic, who do we serve. And it's really important to have that clarity amongst all the partners on what you're able to bring to the table and what areas you need to improve on, for example, and where we can collaborate on top of the values that Chipo mentioned earlier. But also to say that communication is really important, very important as any partnership. Obviously, you're going into a marriage, as Chipo said as well. And so that thing of regular contacts, whether through WhatsApp or emails, and at times they can be very difficult conversations. I won't say this has been, completely hunky-dory partnership. It's been the best partnership, but definitely along the way, there's been a lot of hard talks and hard conversations to have in terms of how we deliver the project, in terms of how we work, and how we're holding each other responsible for different pieces of work. So having that clear communication channels, very crucial.
And if I may, it's also about looking at managing power relations. And that is where also the values become very important. If you're working in a true partnership, then you can't have power over. And that's where it binds the partnership. Because if you're all committed and you have the same values, you have the same vision, the same objectives, the same aspirations, then it's much easier to have those hard conversations, honest conversations, and not feel that one partner is lording it over the others. So yes, that is also very important. And it's also about the systems you put in place to make the partnership work. As Fadili said, communication, regular structured meetings, open communication, ability to people to speak in between, the scheduled meetings and being open to having some of those conversations. It's never easy. Let's just say partnership working isn't easy. And I think both Akina Mama, Africa, SSAP, Children's Dignity Forum, and Somaliland Nursing and Midwifery Association would agree with that. It's not easy. But if you're committed, it makes it easier.
Lovely. Thank you very much, everybody, for giving us that that information. I want to open up now to the floor and see if anybody in our audience would like to ask any questions of our groups. We've got 15 minutes left. So you can either put your hands or you can put a question in the chat. I can see somebody's put a question in the chat.
Yeah, so sorry, Gary said, finding out the previous experiences on funding with Hub Cymru Africa, and what are the projects being planned in these challenging times for 2021/22? Are you referring to Hub Cymru Africa projects, Gary, or do you want to? Is that your? Yeah.
Yeah, that's great. First of all, a wonderful presentation there, and a lot of hard work that's gone in there. I can't imagine how many hours everybody put into that particular project, but it must have been hundreds, even thousands, possibly. No, I'm looking at that one. That's very interesting, and what is then coming up from Hub Cymru Africa in these challenging times. So, as I said, 21/22.
If I understand, is the projects within the partners for 2021/22?
Yeah.
Yeah. So obviously SSAP is funded or is part of Hub Cymru Africa, and we have been working with partners within Hub Cymru Africa since the beginning of it. So a lot of our work, the challenges, I guess, is doing things online like we're doing now. We have had to deliver quite a lot of other projects online as well. We've done some COVID-19 work to support communities here in Wales who have been affected by COVID-19. Everything has obviously gone digital, and it's the challenges of managing the digital aspect of our work, whether it's delivering training, workshops, or events. And I guess in many ways, our African-based projects have been put on hold slightly because of the challenges we're experiencing right now. And also SSAP is going through a shift slightly, so we have put things on hold at the moment. But I think Adwa and Chipo will be able to add a bit more on what they do.
Chipo, do you want to go ahead?
Chipo, do you want to tell us about what projects you guys are working on in the coming months?
Yes, so we, similar to what Fadili has said. Hello, I hope you can hear me.
Yeah, we can hear you.
We can hear you.
Yeah, based on the nature of work that we do, like I said, in my first in my introduction, was that our key entry point is the Women's Leadership Institute. So because of COVID-19 and the many other things that are happening, especially here in Uganda, we've been forced to take everything online. So one of the things that we are also focusing on is around issues of sexual gender-based violence, not just in terms of the usual spaces that we know, but also in terms of online spaces where we are finding ourselves being pushed to work in. So we are doing work around addressing issues of addressing issues of violence online, but also in terms of addressing sexual violence in public spaces. And then also to say, with the impact of COVID-19, especially on the young women, the other thing that we are also focusing on is around issues of mental health. So in terms of providing psychosocial support, because many a times, I mean, like, just think about what happened last year. Literally, all line to say we're going to support people.
Oh dear, it looks like we just lost Chipo. Chipo, are you there?
Yes. Yeah,
okay.
So in terms of convening the rethink spaces where we have conversations around well-being, wellness, collective care, self-care, and so forth. But then the most important thing is around the issue of feminist research, documenting the experiences of women in all their diversities when it comes to issues of politics, when it comes to issues of economic justice, or their sexual reproductive rights.
Chipo, I'm really sorry. We're really having difficulties hearing you. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I'm sorry, you're very scratchy. We can't hear you.
That we are currently.
Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you. Now we can hear you. We have somebody has put a question in the chat, Chipo. I'm sorry that we missed quite a lot of what you were saying there. But do you mind if I ask the next question? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm sorry that we haven't been able to hear you clearly. Chipo, the question is, how do you assess whether each other's values and missions and ways of working are suitable for the marriage before you start working together? Does anybody want to speak to that?
I'll pass on to Adwa, and then she can say a bit of and then you can say a little bit about what you guys are doing at the moment as well, because you didn't get a chance to say that.
Thank you.
I think in terms of that, it's about the due diligence. And that normally falls to, in some ways, the lead partner to ensure that the due diligence captures all of those issues. So it's not only the financial due diligence, it's the governance, it's the ways of working. All of those need to be captured in terms of the work that you're doing. And we sort of talked about it all through the interview. It's the values, it's the ways you work, it's the commitment to the issues. If the organization that you want to partner with has no experience in that space, wants to move into that space, you can still work with that partner without expertise, but acknowledging that this is a weakness and they may need additional support, or you may need to do something slightly different in the partnership. And that is how we work with SSAP. We haven't worked with SSAP before to Ezeshe, but we recognized that they had a geographical added advantage. They had been overlooked in the past, and we wanted to reach out to those communities in Wales that we had not been able to reach, but they had been able to reach. And we took that into consideration and built the project around that, taking into consideration some of the limitations and the strengths we wanted to build in SSAP. And SSAP wanted to build in themselves. So yeah, we sort of hit on it all the way through. We continue to work in partnership. I mean, in terms of what Forward is doing last year and going forward. As you know, that the money and the grants and the foundations for any other work apart from COVID seem to have dried up significantly. And we anticipate that it's going to be even worse because the amount of money that the government has spent in dealing with COVID, we anticipate a huge austerity hit when and if we ever get back to normal, or even when we get back to our new normal. And it's something we need to look at in terms of how we are able to fund the work we need to do. The international development, and it has been said by the government, they want to stop doing it and link it more to trade. So they want to work not necessarily with southern countries, but they want to work with countries with whom there is a benefit to them working. I mean, it has always been so, but I think it's going to be even more so at the moment. So for organizations like ours, which are African-led, diaspora-led, diaspora-targeted, African-targeted, we need to find different ways of raising the funds for what we need to do. Because I think, and I hope I'm wrong, that there will be even less money for us to tap into to do projects like Tuwezeshe, which we know are impactful and are very much needed in our countries. We continue to work in partnership. We have moved a lot of, like everybody else, we've moved a lot of our work online, but we are still working with partners who are implementing on the ground, but taking into account social isolation and distancing and so on and so forth. Like Akina Mama, we are also trying to up our documentation. You may have seen the research we did and published on reviewing FGM protection orders in the United Kingdom, where we were talking to the communities. As you may know, the government has been touting the fact that they've increased protection of girls at risk by introducing the FGM protection orders. But nobody's actually talking to the communities who are affected. And we wanted to get that different perspective, because when you bring in legislation, it's important to see whether it does what it's supposed to do, whether it is fit for purpose. And unfortunately, this hasn't been done. So we did that research and we launched it again virtually, but there's still work to be done. And like I said, we are still working in partnership with our partners on the ground in Sierra Leone, in Tanzania. We are still looking for funding to replicate and upscale Tuwezeshe. We've done a few Tuwezeshe models virtually, and we're going to monitor to see whether that sisterhood element, which was such a key aspect of the Tuwezeshe project, has the same impact when it's done virtually. We sort of hypothesize that it won't be as strong, which is a pity, because that sisterhood element is so critical. It is one of the pillars on which the Tuwezeshe bespoke model is based on. So we will be looking to, again, assess whether and how we can make Tuwezeshe as strong as the first one, even though we are not meeting face to face, and able to build that sisterhood the way we did in Uganda, in Wales, in Scotland, in Tanzania, Somaliland. So yes, it's a hard time. We're going through a lot of changes, and I think, to be honest, these changes are going to impact us for quite a while. And yeah.
Thank you, Ado. I did share the due diligence checklist that we did.
Did you?
Yeah.
Well, anybody who has feedback, do let us know, because we're always a learning organization, and if there's a gap we've missed, do share with us. and we'll take that on.
Thank you, Adwa. I also just want to emphasize, the partnership working is crucial, for us as SSAP, for example, being part of this project. And Adwa has mentioned they went on to do further work to do with sort of similar versions of Tuwezeshe. And we gained a lot from the partnership because we gained skills that we didn't have before. We didn't have the training development aspect of in our work in our own organization. And we went on to deliver another leadership training, which was different to Tuwezeshe. But because of what we gained from that project, we were able to deliver the other project as well. And I guess that says a lot, I think, in terms of partnership working and building that capacity of your partner and vice versa. And so when you do work properly and collaboratively with partners in countries you work, that's what you provide, that's what you give, that's what you learn from each other. Yeah. Thank you. So I did share the due diligence.
Thank you. And I'll share it post-event with people who are here. I'll send it in the post-event email. So thank you very much for sharing that with us. I would really love for somebody who's written in the chat that they think the responsible assistance has a fantastic working relationship with our partners in Kenya based on trust and fairness. So I'm going to ask each of the speakers what they think is what they think good partnership means. What does partnership mean to you? And I would love it if our participants can write in the chat. If you can write in the chat what you think a good partnership is, then we can all share together. But I can't find Chipo. Chipo, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Fab. Could you let us know what you think good partnership looks like as your closing thoughts? Because we're coming to the end now.
I'll go back to the issue that Adjoa spoke to about power. And I think for me, if there's shared power within a partnership, for me, that's a good partnership, regardless of the fact that you're coming into the space, you have the money, or maybe you have the expertise and so forth. So I think for me, as long as there's that understanding and appreciation of a process where you do that power analysis and say, you know what, borrowing from feminists, at the end of the day, our partnership needs to be premised on the principle of shared power, shared decision making.
Thank you. Thank you. Adwa?
Wow. Honesty and being vulnerable, being prepared to be vulnerable in the partnership. I think for me, those are also key. Being honest about your thoughts, your concerns, your disagreements, and be open to say, I don't know, I need help, I'm overwhelmed, help. And be able to be safe in the partnership to express that.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Fadili, can you give us your closing thoughts, please?
Absolutely. And I think going along with what Adwa was saying, and I've said this before, I think communication is really important in any partnership, whether it's a marriage, it's a friendship. You have to communicate, you have to talk to each other to know where you are, what you stand in your particular journey and where you're going. So I think it's really important, very clear means of communication. And I think also the ways of communicating also are really useful in knowing, for example, emails can be very challenging at times to express what you want to say because someone might read in the wrong way, or a message on WhatsApp. So knowing what works for your partnership is really crucial, and don't be scared to walk away if things are not going accordingly. And this goes along with what Adwa said, be feeling trusted and worthy of that partnership. So if there are issues, and this goes in a sense to also, I remember the conversations we had with AMWA at the beginning and the Somaliland partners as well, where they said they have been involved in numerous big projects with UN organizations and others, but a lot of it has been sort of almost like a parachute model. You are coming to be part of a project or program that has been decided already on how it's going to be delivered. And what made Tuwezeshe very unique is they were involved, is the co-production element that Chipo said right from beginning, setting the parameters of the project and how we're going to work and deliver the project together. So that's really crucial. And especially now we're going into a new phase, a new challenging era. It's really important.
Brilliant, thank you. Sorry, Adwa, I spoke over you. You were going to say something.
No, I'm just agreeing. I'm just, yeah. If you could see me, I'm nodding and agreeing.
I think we can hear the nod. We can hear the nod. Yeah, thank you very much. A lot of food for thought there.
I think the last thing, maybe, if possible, have fun. Try and have fun with the work. And we know it's work, but try and have a laugh, try and enjoy the process. It's not only the end result, but enjoy the process and enjoy the end result.
Thank you. And I think that's beautiful last words for us to finish on. Thank you very much, everyone. Emma has shared a link, and we would be very, very grateful if you could click on the link and give us your feedback. I want to say a huge thank you to Adwa and Chipo and Fadili for talking to us today and sharing with us their experience. I found it really helpful, and I trust that everybody else has. And thank you to everybody who's putting their comments in the chat about what they feel are important partnerships. We've got Hannah is saying that she agrees with Adwa's comment about enjoying the process. She says that's good advice for life. Absolutely agree. Gary saying honesty, integrity, and goodwill, open communication, acknowledging challenges, and looking for solutions together. I think together being the key words there, and mutual beneficial facilitation. And for me personally, I always think it comes back to understanding your privilege. So thank you very much, everybody. So yeah, thank you everybody very much for your contribution. Thank you very much for our speakers. And I think that's a wrap. Have a lovely day, everybody, and enjoy your weekend. We have one event that's left over for tomorrow. You can have a look at the advice page on Cymru Africa if you'd like to join us, celebrate the success of fundraisers in the Wales Africa community, talking about their personal experience of fundraising. Thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, Chipo. Thanks, Adwa.
Take care, Chipo. Good to see you.
Bye.